Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about something very impactful, as we always do, but this one, I believe, this is my personal feeling, extremely impactful. And it's all about healing. We all have things we need to heal from. And if you say, well, I don't have anything to heal from, I'm all good, either you're not fully in touch with yourself or you're lying to yourself. Again, that's my belief. I really want to find out what she feels about that. She is somebody who offers a lot of inspiration as an author, speaker, evangelist. She has a great book that came out over the summer, and she's also in the process of working on another book. And she's back with us. Marlena Compston joins us here on the program. How are you doing today?
Hi, Steve. I am so good. The weather is beautiful in Oklahoma, and I'm going to have to get out in the sunshine today. A little too chilly to get in the pool now, though.
Even if you have a heater, sometimes it can't
and we
keep
do.
up.
Yeah,
just no. But
yeah.
What's too cold for you in the pool?
I don't know how to answer that exactly.
I'm
not sure.
Is it 80 degrees? Does it
80 degrees is where I was going to go.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think 90 is not bad.
I want to see your heating bill for the pool.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No doubt.
But it all depends on your temperature, because if it's got to maintain, you're good. But anyway,
yes.
This whole healing thing, do you believe that we all have something that we need to heal from?
Most probably. I have never met anyone in my entire life that really had it all figured out health-wise. I'm sure there are some. Certainly, as we are living in these bodies, I hate to say it, but kind of our flesh bag of bones, I've heard it referred to as. We have mentioned a few times that we're not in our 20s or 30s anymore. And hey, this getting older thing, it's a real deal. And I've said before that I really look forward to going to heaven, but pretty sure God's going to let me hang out here for a little while because I've got a lot more work to do for him. And there's just so many avenues that we could go down in this. But I want to share a couple of things. There's a scripture, 3 John 1:2. Dear friend, I hope all is well with you and that you are as healthy in body as you are strong in spirit. I think there's a definite connection between our spirit and our health. We could look all through the Bible. I speak about King David quite a bit. He was forever being chased down by Saul. Saul was jealous and angry, and really he just had a murderous spirit. And though he loved David, I believe he loved David for what David could do for him, not because he just genuinely loved him. David, however, even though the word says David, we all know the story, Bathsheba and the affair, and he plotted to get her husband put on the front lines and killed. David still had a heart that when he messed up, he would go before God and absolutely be so broken and ask God to forgive him. And he had times too that he would say, God, protect me, kill them all. They're trying to kill me. I mean, the man just lived in a lot of ups and downs and all around, Steve. But what we know is that the word says he was a man after God's own heart. And David lived, if I remember correctly, I think he lived to 70. They didn't have hospitals back in the day. They didn't have urgent care. They truly just had spices and herbs and things like that, tinctures. And my goodness, the lifespan, don't know if it was that long, but then there's a few that lived to 900. So back to the scripture, think of that you are as healthy in body as you are strong in spirit. There is a book, it's Carol Truman, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. It's a very interesting book. Goes into the matter of Okay, I'll take myself. We've talked many times about the trauma I had at a very young age. Do you know that I have had asthma for most of my life? I have had lung challenges, including today, by the way, most of my life. My own mother never heard me have an asthma attack until I was about 17 years old. I remember that very distinctly. I don't know why. She never heard me have an asthma attack. It's just about killed me a few times. I was just, do you remember, Steve? I mentioned months ago about my friend that had been in and out of the hospital. And she is also the one that had struggled a bit with suicidal thoughts. And when I had walked into her home months ago, and I said, "Are you suicidal?" She said, "Yes, I am." She really and truly, she had been laid off of a job yet again. That's happened a lot in the oil and gas industry. You know, that's an up and down and all around too. She'd been laid off. She'd had some kind of a communication fallout with someone very close. And she shared the story that she was on her knees, like flat on her face, hysterically crying. And she wound up in the emergency room. And if I remember correctly, at first they thought she had had a heart attack. And it comes to find out that it's like her entire endocrine system shut down. So she was in and out of the hospital. She had been diagnosed with bacterial meningitis. It just got worse and worse and worse. And I prayed and prayed with her mom, had friends praying. Long story short, they had to remove her from life support August the 8th. It's heartbreaking. I really do think. Have you ever heard of someone dying of a broken heart? You know, all she wanted to do was take care of her mom and her son. Her son just graduated in May. She missed all of that. But what I want to say is, as heartbreaking as that was, and I'm speaking, by the way, at her celebration of life this Saturday.
Wow.
I got to speak with one of her best friends last night for a couple of hours. We had a great 2-hour phone session all about our friend. So I'm wearing like this bright pink dress, not usually my color. And I'll start my little talk with, I know I look like a pink disco ball, but we are here to celebrate our friend today. I want to tell you that this is something I just found. The organs weep, the tears, the eyes refused to shed. Let me repeat that. The organs weep, the tears, the eyes refuse to shed. How many of us, and I'm putting myself in there, get to a point in life where we can't even cry? I had been there. Just had a little bit of healing happen with me a couple of weeks ago. I think I've cried a couple of times now. And let me tell you, it's heart-wrenching. It's not fun. But this meme that I found, if you want to call it that, information, it shows that liver stores anger, the heart stores joy or sadness, and the spleen stores worry, the kidneys store fear, and the lungs store grief. When I saw that, Steve, that hit me right between the eyes, because this woman at 3.5 years old lost so much to someone in my life that took it with no thought. And I lost. And I have grieved ever since. My mom passed away 6 years ago. I was in Mexico on vacation. It's a long story. She passed away while I was gone. I never got to see her again. I'm speaking of my own pain to resonate with those of you that understand. My dad passed away last year. As I was speaking to this new friend last night about our friend's celebration of life coming, towards the end of our conversation, it just came up and out of me about grieving my parents' loss. I was the last face on this earth that my dad saw. My dad and I had actually a pretty troubled relationship. And I really haven't shared this many times, but now it's going to be out there. I was the last face that he saw before he closed his eyes and went into somewhat of a coma. And he kept saying, he would look at me and he'd look at the window, and he'd look at me, and he'd look at the window, almost like he was looking for an escape. And he kept saying, "This is a bad joke. This is a bad joke." And I'm still grieving because my dad and I never got to a place that I wish we could have. I had forgiven him. I said to the Lord 10 or 12 years ago, "Lord, I choose to love and honor my parents as much as I possibly know how for the rest of their life. Sometimes maybe from a distance, but I'm going to love them." I don't know that my dad came to a place of really forgiving me from all of the heartache we walked through, but I can sit here today and say I poured as much love as I knew how to into him. And it's heartbreaking knowing that here I am called to help those of you going through all the stuff: abortion, recovery and forgiveness, depression, the tunnel of suicide, all the things I've spoken about, Steve. And I can be honest to tell you all, I say be authentic. My lungs, even today, like I told you before we started, I'm congested. I'm still walking through healing with grief, carrying grief in my own lungs from the loss specifically of my own dad. Back to my friend, there came a time this past summer that her mom and I said, I call her Mama. Mama, we're very close. And I said, I feel like God wants me to prepare you that we may have to lose her. And she had come to the first time she wasn't quite ready to hear that. The second time, probably in July, she was very aware. So at that point, Steve, we began praying the prayer, "Lord, be merciful. Just be merciful." So August the 8th is when she did leave. When I drove to Oklahoma City that day, August 8th, she had called to let me know they were going to have to let her go. And I was driving, praying in the Spirit, and the Lord showed me that she was already gone, probably for about 2 days, close to 2 days. And interesting that when I got to the hospital, her son, of course, was there, and her mom and some of the other family. I didn't go into her room because she had something contagious. There again, long story. And of course, her mom and son were on each side of her with gloves and everything. But her son looked at me and said, "Marlena, Mama and I are pretty sure Mom's not here." And I said, since you shared that with me, I'll share with you that driving over, praying in the Spirit today, the Lord showed me that she's been gone close to 2 days. And he said, "Yeah, we kind of think she's been gone definitely a day or maybe 2. So how heartbreaking that at 48 years old, my friend had to be removed because there was no coming back. But what I do know is that in August of last year, I started a women's group called The Journey in my home. The Lord gave me the words, The Journey, a while back, a couple of years ago. The last few years of her life, or let me take that back, the last few months of her life from August to, let's say, close to mid-November, I think, she and her mom were both with about 10 other ladies, were in my home. I was ministering to them from the Word. We do what we call, Steve, real and raw. These ladies get in my front room. They know it is a safe haven. They know I am a safe haven, and they lay it all out there. Tears, laughter, pain. It's vomited all out there on my front room floor. But I love the fact that as I speak Saturday at her celebration of life, I get to share the fact that she spent the last many months of her life before she went in the hospital in the downward spiral. She was seeking God's best for her life. The last time she was in my home, I got to anoint her with oil. The Lord had a word for her, actually for each one of the ladies, and that is the last time that I prayed for her.
This resonates with me in many ways. In my journey, I've learned what you're saying, especially that what we hold on to gets into ourselves, cellular level, what
Absolutely.
we are dealing with, healing from. What do we heal from? We heal from a trauma. It's a trauma. I know sometimes that word is harsh for a lot of us, but the passing of somebody is a trauma. Somebody treated you a certain way, and I'm not even talking about abuse, just a certain way. That could be a trauma. Right. Depending on how your body, your mind internalized it. That can be a trauma.
Perception.
Right.
Perception.
100%. Yes. Thank you. And then you have to heal from it.
Yes. And here is really the root of what our talk is today, our choice. So I'm going to present a story of a woman that I knew. I did many prayer sessions with her. She was dropped off. I feel like I've shared a little bit of this before, maybe not. She was dropped off about 5 years old to the front porch of her grandma and grandpa, and her mom and new stepdad took off, left her, and I think maybe her brothers too, but they took the new baby of theirs with them. At 5 years old, what was the message she received? She was abandoned. You're not good enough to keep. Your sister is, but you're not. She carried that pain her whole life. She passed away several years ago now. She got colon cancer, and then it metastasized all over. But there was a moment as I was praying with her and dealing with the abandonment and dealing with the bitterness and dealing with the jealousy that I saw it in her eyes, Steve. Her eyes lit up. I saw her spirit ignite. I never used those words before. And we saw a little change for the positive. And then, just like an immediate turnaround, she went the opposite direction. And very shortly after was diagnosed with colon cancer. I mean, just surgery after surgery. And sadly, she passed away, a very bitter, unhappy older woman. And I don't want that for any of you that are listening. I don't want it for me. I don't want it for you, Steve. My lungs are carrying grief. And because God highlighted that in me last night as I was talking to Rhonda, I'm going to be on my knees this next little while. I'm going to be very prayerful. Lord, you have now let me know what's going on with me. No wonder I keep being congested because I'm grieving over the loss of my dad and my mom, and really some of my family, quite actually, in different situations. This is what I know. The word says in Proverbs 17:22, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. That's so clear. That's so clear. Let's choose to be happy. And I don't mean let's put the mask on, jump around for joy, act like we're so deliriously happy and we're dying inside. I don't mean that. If there's any word that I love and I want to be, it is the word authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, a few podcasts ago, I listened back to our podcast and I said these words, I am so authentic. And I thought, oh God, as you know, doing live, it's funny because you go back and say, can I just change that? What I meant by that is because the Holy Spirit lives within me, I have such opportunity and I choose to be so authentic. I have nothing to hide. Gosh, if someone came up to me and said, I've known you for 50 years and I remember you did such and such and such, and Lord knows I did. You know what I'd say? Oh my gosh, you are so right. And I was so wrong. Forgive me if that affected you. If you just need to point out that I haven't always been a great person. Well, that's probably true because I was dealing with my own poo-poo. Let's call it that.
But I always, in my journey, authentic was the first word as I started figuring life out, if you will. That was the first word that came to mind. And somebody actually said it to me. And when it comes to being authentic, you are being truthful.
Yeah.
The truth always sets you free, no matter what you believe in. And I in 15 seconds, talking about the passing of your father, I didn't have the greatest relationship with mine, being authentic and transparent here.
Yeah, sure.
He passed when I was 21, suddenly, and didn't get to say goodbye. I kind of we abandoned each other. I had gotten a job, had a girlfriend. I was kind of like, you know what? I'm doing my life. You do whatever you're doing. I don't need you. Exactly. So fast forward to 5 months ago, barely, I had joined a men's group. There's a retreat.
I remember you telling that.
That's all part of this. And the retreat's a big part of it. Very big. at that retreat, there's a section where you are told to think about and forgive your father. Take the lessons, thank him. By the way, all the men in the group all use our last names. We never say our first name to honor your father. But here's why I'm bringing it up. Call it intervention from wherever. But I came to grips with it at that meeting.
That's awesome.
But here's the end of the story. Then I realized the following day I was leaving, and I had to fly the other side of the country to California for this. The day I left was my father's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Can't make it up. And I didn't even realize it because, the date was off my radar. Now I will never forget it. But it was like, oh my gosh.
Oh.
It's almost as if you're going there and you're, somewhat going to heal from, a lot of things. But,
yes.
There was a reason.
These little divine appointments. And that leads me to, how we doing? Oh, we're pretty much done, aren't we? 30 minutes goes by so fast.
For sure.
I probably better not. I'll save that story for another time. God's little appointments, divine appointments.
I didn't want to take up time with mine, but I had to share that because it's what you were talking about.
Mine?
And the
I don't
fact
mind
that
at all.
there was a reason that I was there. And I believe, we're pushed. Whoever's pushing us.
God is speaking. He is speaking. I'm going to read for just a moment and then I'm done. In my book, Love Illuminated, it's called God Knows. Anger can certainly disguise itself. Many people are just bottom line angry with God. We can get stuck in the grieving process, denial, anger, bitterness, and grief. Maybe our circumstances aren't what we had hoped, or maybe we've experienced loss. We might be feeling forgotten, broken, left out, or abandoned. God knows. Share it with him. I encourage you to pray. Ask the Lord to reveal any anger, let's say these others, or worry, or grief, or fear, and I'm speaking to myself, that is stored within you. Then begin sifting through it all the while praying until nothing is left but ashes that can be blown away with one strong breath.
What came to me as you're reading that, as I'm listening, there's a thin line between love and hate. And I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it.
You brought that up.
I'll just leave it at that.
Who's the song? The Birds? Is that who you said?
Well, there's a song that came out years ago. Thin line between love and hate. I forget who did it, but the Pretenders redid it.
Pretenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we connect with you? How do we find you, Marlena?
Sure. My website is marlenacompston.co. My YouTube channel is Inspire Nations Media. All of mine and Steve's podcasts are there. I'll add this one on later today. It's starting to get some movement, which is so cool. And, my reason for being here is about you. God saved me from the tunnel of suicide in 1992 to pull me into this beautiful call that I have. And again, it is about you. It is about you healing from the things that have hurt you in your life. And I sit here today healed. Obviously, I'm still alive. I'm still working on grieving and getting healed myself. So let's do this together. You can email me at marlenacompston@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for today. Thank you for being genuine, and thank you for being authentic.
Same to you.
All right. Thank you. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Okay. See you next week.
We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.